Ever wondered what makes the 1970 Chevelle SS so iconic? It's not just the sound of the engine or the gleam of its chrome, it's the feeling you get when you stand beside it, a blend of awe, adrenaline, and deep respect for an era that redefined what cars could be. The 1970 Chevelle SS isn't just a muscle car, it's a symbol. It represents a time when American automakers weren't afraid to push limits, when raw power mattered as much as style, and when cars were more than machines. They were statements of identity, freedom, and dominance. This isn't just a story about horsepower or design specs. This is a journey into the heart of American car culture, and at the center of it all roars the Chevelle Super Sport, one of the most revered machines ever to roll out of Detroit. The Chevelle story begins in the early 1960s when Chevrolet realized it needed something to compete in the rapidly growing mid-size car market. The original Chevelle launched in 1964, but it wasn't until a few years later that things got serious. By the time the SS 396 package arrived, the Chevelle had already started carving a name for itself on the streets. It was fast, stylish, and muscular, a true answer to the calls of young, power-hungry American drivers who wanted more than just transportation. But nothing prepared the world for what was coming in 1970. That year, Chevrolet dropped the hammer and gave us what many consider the pinnacle of the muscle car era, the 1970 Chevelle SS 454. With a look that could kill and an engine that could shake the pavement, the 70 Chevelle SS became an instant legend. Its broad, aggressive front end, dual racing stripes, cowl induction hood, and SS badging weren't just design choices. They were declarations of power. This was a car that didn't whisper, it shouted. And the engine options matched the attitude. At the heart of this beast was the LS5 454 cubic inch V8, pumping out 360 horsepower, already a monster by any standard. But for those who truly craved mayhem, Chevy offered the LS6, a version of the 454 with an earth-shattering 450 horsepower and 500 lb-ft of torque, making it one of the most powerful engines ever fitted to a factory production muscle car. To drive a 1970 Chevelle SS was to experience raw American performance at its purest. It wasn't just fast, it was violent in the best possible way. Put your foot down, and the rear tires would erupt into smoke, the front end would lift, and the world would blur into a loud, tire-melting symphony of thunder and speed. Yet, despite all this ferocity, the Chevelle SS still carried a kind of restrained elegance. It was tough but refined, brutal yet beautiful. From the sleek roofline to the wide stance and chrome accents, it balanced menace with style in a way few other cars ever have. But the Chevelle was more than its looks and numbers. It was a symbol of a generation. The 1970s were a time of transition in America. The optimism of the 60s was fading, the war in Vietnam was still raging, and the oil crisis loomed on the horizon. The muscle car was a form of escape, a way to assert control, power, and individuality in uncertain times. The Chevelle SS fit perfectly into that cultural moment. It wasn't just a car, it was rebellion wrapped in sheet metal. It gave people something to believe in, something that roared louder than the headlines, something that let them feel alive. The Chevelle SS became a pop culture icon almost immediately. It showed up in movies, television shows, album covers, and street corners across America. Teenagers dreamed of owning one, grown men raced them on weekends, and everyone knew that if you had a 70 SS 454, you weren't just driving, you were making a statement. Even today, over 50 years later, the mystique remains untouched. Car shows light up when one arrives. Collectors pay top dollar for clean, original examples. And gearheads still debate whether anything since has ever truly topped the sheer charisma of the 1970 Chevelle SS. Part of its lasting impact lies in its perfect timing. The 1970 model year marked the absolute peak of the muscle car era. Government regulations hadn't yet strangled engine output. Insurance companies hadn't started punishing high-performance cars. Gas was still cheap. It was the last full-throttle moment before the storm, before emission standards, fuel crises, and downsizing changed the automotive landscape forever. The 1970 Chevelle SS captured lightning in a bottle. and it did so with unrelenting confidence. Even mechanically, the Chevelle SS was ahead of its time. The suspension setup, while still relatively simple by modern standards, offered solid handling for a big American coupe. With the optional F41 suspension package, drivers could corner with surprising agility. Add in front disc brakes, a solid Muncie 4-speed manual, or the bulletproof Turbo 400 automatic, and you had a machine that could dominate both the street and the drag strip. Today, the 1970 Chevelle SS represents a golden age. It's a benchmark. A reminder of what cars used to be before they were softened by regulations, digitized into submission, or buried beneath layers of driver aids. It speaks to a time when engineers, not accountants, had the final say. When design was fearless, and performance wasn't compromised for comfort or emissions. It was loud, it was fast, it was unapologetic, and that's exactly why it continues to rule the hearts of enthusiasts around the world. As we dive deeper into the history and evolution of this muscle car legend, we're not just looking at metal, paint, and horsepower. We're exploring the DNA of a movement. The 1970 Chevelle SS isn't just a car, it's a memory that moves. A machine that shaped a generation and still inspires new ones. Whether you grew up around one, dreamed of owning one, or are discovering its magic for the first time, there's something in the Chevelle that connects with everyone who loves cars. It's not just about going fast. It's about going bold. It's about daring to stand out, to roar louder, and to live the muscle car dream in its purest, most glorious form. And it all begins with this machine, the 1970 Chevelle SS. The 1970 Chevelle SS is more than just a muscle car, it's a cultural monument on wheels, a chrome and steel time capsule of American power, pride, and passion. Decades after it first roared to life, the appeal of this legend hasn't faded, it's grown. In a world where modern cars boast touchscreen dashboards, autonomous driving, and whisper-quiet electric motors, there's still something magnetic about the raw, unapologetic soul of a classic like the Chevelle SS. It reminds us of a different time, when the roar of a big block engine was the soundtrack of freedom, and the open road was an invitation to live louder, drive harder, and chase something bigger than ourselves. That kind of legacy doesn't rust, it only gets more powerful with age. Classic cars like the 1970 Chevelle SS have carved out a permanent place in the hearts of car lovers, not because they're fast, though they certainly are, but because they represent something timeless. They capture the spirit of an era when cars were about emotion, identity, and rebellion. That spirit resonates today, even as the automotive world evolves at breakneck speed. The modern fascination with vintage iron is proof that the soul of driving still matters. People aren't just restoring Chevelles for shows, they're preserving history, rebuilding stories, and reconnecting with something real in a world that's increasingly digital. And the Chevelle SS, with its perfect blend of brute force and iconic style, stands at the top of that nostalgic mountain. Technology, ironically, is helping keep these classics alive and thriving. From 3D printed reproduction parts to digital tuning tools and advanced diagnostics, tech is making it easier than ever to restore, maintain, and enjoy these cars. Want fuel injection that looks like a carburetor? Done. Want Bluetooth sound that pumps to vintage-style radios? No problem. Modern conveniences can now be tastefully integrated without sacrificing the character that makes the Chevelle SS so beloved. It's the best of both worlds, the heartbeat of the past pulsing through the arteries of today's innovation. Even electric conversion kits are on the rise, offering the curious a chance to blend classic design with silent, instant torque. Purists might scoff, but it's just another chapter in the car's evolution, a way to ensure its survival for decades to come. And that brings us to the future. What lies ahead for the 1970 Chevelle SS? Everything. As long as there are people who crave the thrill of real driving, who value craftsmanship over convenience, who get goosebumps at the sound of a big block V8 rumbling to life, the Chevelle SS will never fade away. Future generations might grow up in a world of EVs and self-driving shuttles, but they'll still feel that visceral pull towards something more raw, more human. The Chevelle SS will continue to inspire, not because it's the most refined car, but because it dares to be bold. It teaches us that greatness is forged not in perfection, but in passion. And for those who keep that passion alive, the legend of the 1970 Chevelle SS isn't just uncovered. It's reborn, again and again, every time the key turns and the engine growls to life.